There was once an old man named Aminu who walked the same dusty road every single day. At sunrise, when the village was still half asleep and the air carried the cool breath of dawn, Aminu would lift a heavy basket onto his head. Inside it were bread, vegetables, eggs, and fruits, simple things meant to keep others fed. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the basket, not because it was too heavy, but because his body had grown tired of carrying more than food. The road he walked was long, quiet, and unforgiving. Most people noticed the basket. Few noticed the man beneath it. Aminu had once been strong enough to work from morning till night, strong enough to provide for a family that depended on him, strong enough to believe that rest was laziness and pain was something to be ignored. And so he ignored it for years. He ignored the ache in his back. He ignored the tightness in his chest. He ignored the quiet voice inside him that whispered, "Slow down." Life, after all, did not wait for tired men. Each day, as Aminu walked past the river, he saw his reflection in the water. The man staring back at him had sunken eyes and a face carved by worry. But Aminu never stopped to look for long. Stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant feeling, and feeling to him was dangerous, because feelings asked questions he didn't know how to answer. One afternoon, as the sun burned hotter than usual, Aminu's steps began to slow. His breath grew shallow. The basket felt heavier than it ever had before. "Just a little further," he muttered to himself. "Others have it worse," he said. "Don't be weak," he whispered. Then, without warning, his knees buckled. The basket fell. Fruits rolled across the ground. Bread scattered into the dust. Aminu collapsed beside the road. Villagers gathered around him. Someone offered water. Someone else helped him sit under the shade of a tree. An old woman knelt beside him and said something that pierced deeper than the pain in his body. "You have been very cruel to yourself." Aminu laughed weakly. "Cruel?" he asked. "I work hard, I endure, I don't complain." She shook her head slowly. "That is not kindness, that is survival." He didn't understand her words then. That evening, Aminu did not return to the road. He stayed home, lying awake as the ceiling stared back at him. His body ached, but worse than that was the unfamiliar silence. In the quiet, thoughts he had buried began to surface. He remembered the dreams he once had, simple dreams, sitting by the river, laughing without checking the time, resting without guilt. When had he decided he didn't deserve those things? The next morning, Aminu did something he hadn't done in years. He rested. The world did not collapse. The sun still rose. The village still lived. Days passed and Aminu returned to work, but differently. He carried lighter loads. He stopped by the river. He allowed himself to sit when his body asked for rest. Some people noticed and shook their heads. "He is slowing down," they said. "He is getting old," they whispered. But Aminu felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: peace. He began to understand that kindness was not something you save only for others, that being strong did not mean being harsh, that rest was not weakness, it was respect. Years later, a young boy would often walk beside Aminu on the road. "Why do you stop so much?" the boy once asked. Aminu smiled and replied, "Because I learned that if I don't listen to my body, one day it will force me to." The boy thought about this quietly, and Aminu hoped that maybe, just maybe, the lesson he learned late would be learned early by someone else. Because life is heavy enough already. You don't need to make it heavier by being unkind to yourself. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to slow down. And no matter how many times you've pushed yourself too far in the past, you can choose kindness today.